Now, some owners, as I will encounter, and I know this, will say, why am I don't intend to be here in 2030? Why am I paying for an elevator that I will never use now because it's working fine, but I won't be here in 2030. So why am I paying for something in the future that I derive no benefit from? That's true. That may be true in theory and when someone says that. The problem with that statement is this. If I'm looking at buying your unit in 2024, and part of my due diligence, part of my review, I look at the reserve fund study. I look at the plan that was adopted by the corporation. And I look at the fact that you need $1.8 million in 2030, and your reserve fund today is $125,000. I don't need to be a mathematician expert to figure out in 6 years, how the heck are you going to get from $125,000 to $1.8 million? Well, there's only one way. You're going to stick it to me as a future owner, either through special levies or increased condo fees. And you know what I'll be doing that day when I have to determine whether or not I want to buy your unit? I'll be running as fast as I can away from your condominium complex as possible. I will say to you as the seller, thanks, this has been nice, but no thanks at all. And so again, people, when they're looking at buying condominiums, obviously have to do their due diligence. And part of that due diligence is doing what I just said, reviewing the reserve funds plan to determine what work needs to be done, how much money is available. And if the money isn't available, guess what, people? Someone's going to pay for it. And as a result, you as an owner who says, I'm not paying for something that I'm never going to use in 6 years from now because I'm not going to be in here, this is the challenge you face. Anyone with a half a brain will realize saying, oh my goodness, I'm not buying into a complex that has no money and has $1.8 million worth of capital improvement and of capital projects that need to be done in 6 years. Because again, you do not need to be a math expert to do the math. And so if you simply divide $1.8 million minus $100,000 that you have in the bank account now, you come up with $1.7 million. Divide that by 6. The math is pretty simple in terms of how much money they need to put away each year. It's significant. So don't underestimate the value of those reserve funds. Don't underestimate the importance of adhering to it as a board, and don't underestimate as owners to ensure that your board is living up to it, because they will provide value. Now, here's an interesting story that actually shocked me when I heard the answer. Just before COVID, I was at the annual general meeting of the Surveyors Association of Alberta. It was here in Edmonton. And I was speaking to a group of surveyors, young and old. Some had been practicing for some 40 years to some new surveyors. And I had the opportunity to do a condo overview for them. And when I opened the floor to questions, I said, before you ask me questions, I have a question for you. Let's pretend there are 2 condominium complexes, on one corner and one on the other corner, same neighborhood, built by the same developer, looks the same amenities, same number of units. One building has a very healthy reserve fund in excess of what they need. The other building is virtually bankrupt in terms of they've not put any money aside. And they were built the same year, so they require the same amount of work. And let's pretend 2 units, one unit in one building is for sale, the one that has a lot of reserve fund money. And the other building, another unit, same size, same location, same floor, is also for sale, but this is the building with no reserve fund money. When you do your appraisal, I said surveyor, I meant the Appraisal Association of Alberta, sorry. When you do your appraisal, would your appraisal reflect the difference in reserve funds so that the building with very little reserve fund money would have a lower appraisal based on your review? And the answer was no, absolutely not. We wouldn't even get to that level of analysis to determine the value of a unit. So the fact that the appraisal may say That building that's 200, it's been appraised at 200,000, and the other building is appraised at 200,000. The appraisers are not digging that deep into it. So again, what I'm saying to you, you need to dig a little deeper when you're looking at condo living, when you're looking at condo buying, when you're looking at anything like that, because an appraisal is just a very high level review of certain factors that the appraisers look at to ultimately determine the value of a particular unit in a particular complex in a particular part of the city. So keep that in mind. And again, too, I have told owners or potential buyers when they've called me, say, Robert, we want to hire you to look at these condo documents. I said, okay, but you know what? Before you hire me, I just want, here are the 3 or 4 things that I look at right away. And when I don't get any satisfaction in terms of their answers, that it worries me, I say, you know what, you don't need to hire me, but I'll give you my advice right now. Run as fast as you can away from this complex. Run. Don't even look back, because you will not be happy at all. The other thing I do when people want to buy a condo unit in a 2-unit condominium complex, those odd duplexes that are condominiumized, my answer is run as fast as you can away from those as well. Because can you imagine in a condominium complex where there are only 2 owners, where each people have 5,000 unit factors? Guess what? Nothing gets done unless you have unanimous support. Because remember, I told you need 75% of the owners and 75% of the unit factors to make changes. When both owners, 2 owners, have 5,000 unit factors each, and they own 50% of the units, you're not doing anything unless you have unanimous support between the 2 owners. And that's the challenge sometimes, that you don't.